Hello there, Akko here again. This is the next video in the Valuable Bees series. I've made several videos this morning in which I bred some bees from forest and meadows up to, I had some standard from the hive forest and meadows bees. I've got two cultivated bees and I watched some of it back and it was really boring, so I've got rid of all that and started again. I've decided I'm not going to show any actual crossbreeding in this. I'll go through the principles of how you crossbreed, but if you actually want to learn how to crossbreed your bees better, then I suggest you watch Flora Star's channel and the Bee University. She covers it far better than I ever could. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use, this is my breeding pair of bees that I used to create blanks. So these are cultivated. What you want to do, so in the last episodes we covered all the equipment, all the extra bees stuff and your beealizer. So the first thing I'll do, so now you've got some bees. You've made your first apiary because you've got seed oil and stuff. You can set this system up. One thing we do have to cover is, previously I showed you with an apiarist pipe. Because we've got no propolis yet, we can't actually use an apiarist pipe, so what I've got there is a diamond pipe. In a diamond pipe, all you've got to do is, so I'm going to use cultivated here. You stick a cultivated princess and drone in there. It doesn't actually use them up, it just puts a shadow of them there. So now any bees will actually go back in there as long as they can. If they can't go in there, so for example if you're getting two drones that are slightly different stats so they don't stack, one will go in there and the next will go in there. Anything else will just go straight in there, because if there's nothing set on any of the conditions, things like honeycombs, they'll try and go into the condition. Because they can't go in there, they'll just carry on going in a straight line, so they won't go backwards, they'll keep going that way, so they'll end up in your chest, end up in your sorting system. So you can use that. Looking at it, you could probably not even bother with the apiarist pipes at all and just keep using the filter like so, but the only thing you have to change is, if you're changing species you have to change the bee there, whereas with the apiarist pipe you can just set it to any bees, so it makes it a little bit easier to have the apiarist pipe. So we probably will make them, but to start off with you can just use a diamond pipe. Another thing, so before you can start crossbreeding, you're going to need some honey in your beealizer, otherwise you're not going to be able to check out what stats your bees have got, or indeed what crossbreed stats they've got. If this is a crossbred bee, it would have just been labelled cultivated, but then when you beealize it, in blue underneath the cultivated, it'll tell you what type of hybrid it is. I don't believe I've got any hybrids, so I cannot actually show that. All my bees are pure. So the first thing you're going to need to do is get some honey. So you're going to want to bang some mundane bees, forest or meadows or whatever, into your apiary, get some frames in there and just produce a bit of honeycomb. Get yourself a bit of honeycomb. The first machine you're going to need for actually processing your bee products is a centrifuge. The centrifuge is made copper, sturdy case and glass. It's going to need buildcraft power. Centrifuge, if you bang your honeycombs in there, they'll get processed, and I believe it's 100% chance of beeswax and a 90% chance of honey drop. Might be a little bit off on that, but it's along them lines. You get more beeswax in honey, but you'll get enough honey as well. So you're going to want to get some honey so you can start analysing bees with your beealizer. Once you've got a little bit of honey, you can start breeding. Now, when we're breeding, we can upgrade our frames to these soul frames. And what a soul frame does is, each soul frame, which you make just by putting an impregnated frame with a bit of soul sand, increases the mutation chance by 50%. So, for example, if I were to mutate a forest into a common, you get a 15% chance. So if my maths is right, with one soul frame in there, that'd put that to 22.5% chance, and then second one put it up further, third one put it up further. So you increase your mutation chance using soil frames. So when you're crossbreeding, make sure you use soil frames. It only costs a bit of soil sand, so it's well worth doing. Another note, when you are crossbreeding, you probably don't want a pipe set up, so you can just have a couple of separate apiaries set up for breeding purposes. If you remember on my apiary video, I've got 8 apiaries there, 8 there, all producing. In the middle I had a barrel with some frames in. Outside of the barrel I had a couple of apiaries that were not piped up at all. They were my breeding apiaries. I use them to actually breed through stuff. So you're going to use them, and you're going to want to, the first thing you want to go for is you're going to try and get to cultivated bees. Now the reason for this is, if we look at our data bank, if we look at cultivated and we look at products, you'll see that cultivated bees produce honeycomb in under a minute. Look at your mundane bees, it's 5 minutes. I believe that's the same for all the mundanes. So if we could look at, I think marbled classes as mundane, so that's 2.5 minutes. So that's like the same as a common, I believe. Similar, but if you look at everything, we've all got different speeds on production of stuff. What you find is cultivated has the fastest honeycomb, and that's because it's got the speed trait of fast. And that's the fastest production speed you can get if you're using forestry or extra bees. If you're using thalmic bees, you can get fastest, but you need aura bees for that. So if you're just using a standard MindCrack pack with just extra bees and forestry, fast is the best you can get, and that comes from cultivated. If you're using direwolf pack, I believe that has the thalmic bees in, so you can go a bit quicker. And of course, if thalmic bees has been added into MindCrack or whatever pack you paying after this, just check. If you've got thalmic bees, you can get the aura bee, which has got fastest. So if you check my valuable bees here, if I just quickly BLR's one of them, you can see they've got that fast trait. All my bees have the fast trait because you want products as quick as you can. If you look at, where's my valuable bees? If you look at valuable, 2.5 hours, that says on the platinum comb, but that's because the speeds are slowest. Now if you change the speed to the fast, that brings that down quite significantly. I'm not sure exactly how much, but I definitely get platinum combs quicker than every 2.5 hours, and that's because of that stat. So your valuable bees standard will come out with slowest. You don't want slowest. So you want to get yourself some cultivated bees. Now, as I said, I bred some bees this morning. I started off with, I think I used 2 forest princesses and maybe 4 or 5 meadows drones. You breed a couple of mundanes, you get a chance of a common. You breed the commons back with the mundanes, you get a chance of cultivated. And you keep breeding until you end up with a couple of cultivated. Now these are actually modified ones, but for sake of this, these will work. Once you've got your cultivated, set up a production rig, start producing honeycomb, because you're going to want a lot of honey later on. But this time, once you start producing, you're going to want to start setting up a little kind of sorting system. So I'm just going to cover that real quick. Red power sorter, straightforward enough. Solar panel to power that. One solar panel will keep a sorting machine running forever. Even if this was running from a quarry, one solar panel is enough. The sorting machine doesn't use much power at all. And then it's got a little pipe system here. I've got a centrifuge, I've got a squeezer, I've got a chest, and I've got the gene pool. So these are the basics you're going to need. To be honest, the basics you're going to need are a centrifuge and a chest. But I've made this a little bit expanded, so I can sort through each bit. You're going to want some paint, so you can paint tubes. Paint is just made, yep, I've got my paint with me. Look at that real quick. So you get various paints. You need to make a paintbrush, which is just a stick in any colour wool. You need to make some paint cans, which is tin plates. From tin plates you make an alloy furnace. Use an iron tin. Once you've got them, you create a coloured paint by mixing tin can, some flax seeds, and a dye. So if you look at the recipe for orange there, 2 flax seeds, a paint can, some orange dye, gets your orange paint. And then you make the brush by combining an empty brush with a paint can, coloured paint can. So then you get paint brushes, you can paint your lands. So that determines what things can go into each when you hook it up to something that I can put a colour tag on, such as a filter or a sorting machine. So what we're going to do, we started getting honeycombs. So we want our honeycombs to go to our centrifuge. You see the centrifuge's got a white line there, so in the sorting machine, white, and we're going to want 1 honeycomb, and this actually uses the item there. So the item, you lose 1 item there, so you have to actually spend an item in each one of these. And we can switch that to that mode. What that'll do is right, they've got nowhere to go, so what I need to do real quick is my dump chest is going to be orange. So what that'll do is anything that's not white, at the minute it's sent them into there, which I didn't want it to. Anything that's not white, so anything that's not honeycomb, that's in this chest, send all them in there. I've made a mess of stuff. Let's just try again with that. So now anything that's not honeycomb gets tagged orange and goes to the dump chest, which is labelled orange. That's not exactly what we want to do, but for now, just while we're setting this up, we'll do that. So our honeycombs break down into beeswax, honey drops. This brings them back into the sorting chest for a second run for the sorting machine. And now because there's nothing else to sand, everything goes to orange, which is just your dump chest. So you're going to want to start putting your beeswax somewhere. Obviously this can be aligned as a barrel into an array of barrels or whatever. And you want to start getting some honey drops for your bee eliza. So now you're running cultivated bees, you've got products coming through, so that's all good. Once you've got enough honey drops for your bee eliza, you're going to want to start squeezing honey into liquid honey for 2 reasons. One, because alveries take a whole lot of honey drops. So an alvery block there takes a scented panelling. Scented panelling takes liquid honey to make in a carpenter. So we need a lot of liquid honey. So it looks like each scented panelling takes about half a bucket. So we want to start squeezing. So next thing to do is assign a colour, so it's magenta in this case, 1, 2, 3, and then get some honey. There we go, and now our honey's going to go there, start getting turned into liquid honey, and we're going to want that wired up to a tank, start collecting all that. The next thing we want is, so right, side product of squeezing is you get a 10% chance of a propolis drop. I believe it's 10%. So once we start squeezing honey, we also get propolis. Once you've got propolis, you can start upgrading your diamond pipes into the apiarist pipes. So that's how we've got that covered. So you don't need to get any tropical bees out, you can just get propolis that way. What you want to do is you'd have transports on top of here, just pulling out the propolis into your back into your sorting system or your dump chest. Otherwise, once that got full, that'd jam up the system. So there's your propolis. So that can go in there. And then the only other thing is all the extra drones you get. Now this is a long life, so it's going to take ages, but this is a max fertility bee, so there's going to be a lot of drones. Just find that bee on the floor. So all the excess drones you can send to your gene pool to start making into DNA. And to do that, is the way you do that is, what you'd actually do is, once you know what products are going in here, so beeswax, pretty much the only thing that's going in here from the sorting machine now, you'd actually create an orange tab, assign your things that are going into your sorting system, and then you can go one step further with this, make it so that anything else, anything that's going to assign is going to be bees, go into your gene pool, start creating your liquid DNA, and you can put that into a sorting system as well. So that's your sorting system sorted. That's pretty much the basics of it. Any questions, if I've not explained anything clear enough, feel free to shout up, and I'll do another video and try and explain it better. But that's basically all you need to sort all your bee stuff. You've got cultivated bees now. The next step is to go to the other types of bee you need for your alveries and other products, and that's bees that give you royal jelly and pollen. So these are your three main things you need from your bees: honey, pollen, royal jelly. Unfortunately, these come from different bees. What we've got is, we've got an imperial bee that produces royal jelly, and we've got an industrious bee that produces pollen. So that's your next steps. I can show you spoilers here, so if you don't want to see the path to create these, look away, but it's pretty straightforward stuff. Industrious bee is diligent and unwary. Unwary is diligent and cultivated. Diligent is common and cultivated. So you can see these all come through the same branch. And then imperial's similar. It's noble and majestic. Majestic is noble and cultivated, and noble is common and cultivated. So you can see you can get to them through just forestry bees. There's no extra bees involved there. But what that does get you to the point of, you end up with the bees you want to be producing, which is, you want a couple of industrious, a couple of imperial, and a couple of cultivated. And that's your main sets of bees that you need out of normal forestry to produce everything you need to eventually move on to your valuable bees. So that's what you want to be going for. Get that set up. A couple of alveries of each, couple of apiaries of each is probably enough to start getting you a good amount of pollen and royal jelly. So once you've got that, run that for a day or two. You've got honey. Start making your scented panelings, because an alvery makes breeding a lot easier. So if you've got the resources, start getting together an alvery as soon as you can. If you just need one to start with, you can keep running your production bees through apiaries using your impregnated frames and stuff, but try and get one alvery as quick as you can, because we're going to stick in mutator blocks and we're going to use that as a breeding station, because you get guaranteed mutations. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope it was useful. I'm not really sure the structure of the way I'm doing this is the correct way of doing it, but hopefully it's useful and it's getting you on the way. We've still got no valuable bees, but now you've got everything pretty much in place you need to make the valuable bees. You've got the alveries, you've got the stuff you need to make the alveries, should I say. You won't have the alveries yet, but you've got everything you need to make them. We've got plenty of seed oil, we should have plenty of honey. Get them 2 species bred, the imperial and industrious. You start getting your pollen and your royal jelly, which is what you need. So right, that'll do for this one. So thanks for watching, hope it was informative. Any questions, just please ask in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.